Welcome to the Charity Trustees meeting on Wednesday, the 27th of March. First of all, I'll move to item 1 on the agenda, to be agreed by general affirmation the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 28th of February. Could I ask members if they verbally agree? Agree. Right, thank you very much. Secondly, to receive declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda. Members indicate on their mic. No, have none. Consider any items that the chairman of the Charity Trustees agree to take as urgent business. I have none. So we move to item 4. Request to install automatic meter reading device to determine the usage between the tennis courts and the kiosk. Could I ask Mr. Kevin Toogood to say a few words about that?
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, members. Hopefully this report's self-explanatory. We are seeking approval of expenditure of just over £2,000, including VAT, to install a new meter reader at the Beechhurst Gardens tennis courts. Essentially, this means that we'll be able to monitor and therefore bill more accurately for the electricity used at the site. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you.
Right, okay, well, I propose we accept this request.
I second this, Chairman.
Right, thank you, Councillor Henwood. I invite anybody who wishes to make any comments or debate this issue. No. I see none. So therefore I invite members to vote on their touchscreens. Sorry, yes, Kevin.
Thank you, Chairman. So I can confirm that motion was carried unanimously with 41 votes in favour, none against, with no abstentions. Thank you.
Right, well, thank you very much. The live stream will, sorry, so we'll close the meeting then.
One.
Right, welcome to the council meeting on Wednesday, the 27th of March 2024. Please, members, could you stand to observe a minute's silence in memory of former councillor and chairman Margaret Hersey, who recently passed away. Right, thank you very much. I call on Councillor Marsh to say a few words.
Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak on behalf of my good friend, ex-councillor Margaret Hersey. My story with knowing Councillor Hersey, Margaret Hersey, came before the election in 2003. But her story began at this district in 1995. And in that time, she was in your position, Chairman of the Council. She was chairman of various scrutiny committees, and when I first got elected, I was given the privilege to be her vice chairman. And she served this council with great distinction, and she also served her residence in Linfield and Linfield Rural, where she was on both parish councils there, with great distinction. Obviously, you were here in February last year, when she lost her husband, and I had the sad duty of standing up and giving a eulogy to Chris, her husband. Well, they're both together now, which is what we hope to hear. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I don't want to hold anybody else up, but I understand my good friend is going to say a few words as well.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. Councillor Wood.
I've been aware of Margaret for many years through connections in our church life, but in particular I was very grateful to her when I was elected first to the parish council in Linfield. She had an encyclopedic knowledge of planning, which I know both Linfield Parish and Linfield Rural Parish Councils greatly valued. She was a woman who lived to serve her community, and right at the heart of that was her partnership with Chris over so many years. It heartened and encouraged and moved me that just a few weeks after Chris's death, following the election, she came to see me and to encourage me and to tell me very strongly to serve the community that I had now been elected to serve. It was a privilege to know Margaret and to learn from her wisdom.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. I pretty could stand now for the prayer.
O Lord, grant us courage to strive for what is right and good, courtesy to listen to those of different opinion, strengthen us through difficulties and pressures, and guide us in our deliberations, so that we may act in the interests of all in our district, to the glory of your holy name, and we pray for peace in our world. Amen.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to receive questions from members of the public pursuant to Council Procedure Rule number 9. We have two questions, one from Mr Kenwood, who is not attending, so I will read out his question. The licence granted on the 1st of March 2022 to the Alliance for Better Care for the use of Clare Hall expired in February this year. However, ABC continue to occupy the venue. Could you please explain the conditions of the extension to this licence or any new licence that has been granted and how it may impact on the current processes in place regarding the future of the venue? A future may soon see another third party granted permission to return the building block back to its previous use as theatre and multi-use community venue. Could I ask the Cabinet Member for Finance, Revenues and Benefits to answer that?
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you for your question, Mr Kenwood. The NHS partners continue to use Clare Hall on the same lease terms on a rolling monthly basis. We are pleased to be able to support the NHS spring vaccination programme. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Cook. The second question is the question from Mr Peter Reid. Could you give your question, please?
How can MSDC justify charging more for parking in East Grinstead than the rest of the district? Is this legal? It's certainly unethical. Surely the job of the council is to support local business. Several shops have recently closed, for example, M&Co, Clark's and Greg's, plus 2 restaurants and a cafe bar. The hospitality sector has been devastated by the pandemic. Increasing parking charges to 8 p.m. will only inflict more pain on this struggling sector. This punitive charge will also have a negative effect upon Chequer Mead and the cinema. How will this be policed? Street parking and West Sussex County Council parking finish between 5 and 6 p.m.
Right, a call on the Cabinet Member for Leisure and Community Services, Councillor Hobbs, to respond.
Thank you, Mr Reid, for your question. I'd like to take a few moments to address each of your points related to the introduction of variable parking tariffs across our communities, plus evening and Sunday and bank holiday charging that is budgeted for introduction later in the year. I am acutely aware of the public feeling on these matters, and now the budget is passed, I'd also like now to clearly articulate the plan for their implementation. Firstly, the budget was agreed by a majority of councillors in this chamber back on the 27th of February. It is a legal requirement of this council to produce a balanced budget by early March, and this was achieved. Costs to the council have increased massively, not least through inflation. We're facing a £12 million funding gap over the next 4 years. Budget preparation work followed months of work by officers and a cross-party working group, and then scrutiny to consider the proposals. The background to the parking elements of the budget originates from the parking strategy adopted by this council under its previous administration back in late 2020. A 10-year strategy whose data has been refreshed post-COVID and was most recently updated in November last year. The evidence in the strategy tells us we should not treat each town and village car park the same, but each should be dealt with uniquely in regard to their own challenges. In this context, while we wish to invest in our car parks with the introduction of new payment technologies, for example, in East Grinstead, we have a unique parking capacity issue that needs to be resolved. Not enough parking space in our main car park for residents and for retailers turns people off visiting the town and does not help our retailers. We therefore need to ensure our tariff structure encourages the right amount of turnover or churn, and to use the revenue generated to fund and prepare a business case for investment in our estate, including at the Queensway car park. In treating each town differently, the fact-based analysis tells us quite simply that Haywards Heath tariff increase should be pitched below East Grinstead's due to lower demand, and in Burgess Hill, the same again. So for 3 reasons, we're increasing parking charges. Number 1, to reinvest in the car parking estate. Number 2, as part of our overall strategy to meet the financial challenges of this council. And number 3, to ensure charges are set at the appropriate level to encourage a healthy turnover of spaces, which better supports the local economy. The first hour charge in East Grinstead will therefore increase by 30p, in Haywards Heath by 20p, and Burgess Hill 10p. The full table of charges by car park will be formally available from tomorrow on the council's website and will be published in local newspapers as we commence the statutory process of implementing these charges in April. Let me now turn to the challenge of the evening, Sunday and bank holiday charging. Firstly, I'd like to correct a misconception about the Sunday and bank holiday charges. These are planned to be fixed all-day tariffs of just £1.50 in East Grinstead and Haywards Heath and £1 in Burgess Hill to encourage shopping in our town centres, not deter it. And yes, we are planning to extend parking charges into the evening. However, both these new charging periods will be subject to statutory consultation, which will launch in the coming weeks. With regards to your point about the cost of parking being detrimental to the theatre and evening economy, many towns and cities already have evening and Sunday charges regimes in place at much higher rates that are budgeted here, and their economies have suffered no worse than East Grinstead. I see, for example, that take a family of 4 to the big Easter panto at the Chequermead this Friday is going to cost £72. And if our bank holiday charging was in place at £1.50 for the whole day, that's just 2% of the cost of the visit. In fact, if you looked at ticket availability today, more people are currently choosing the Saturday afternoon performance than they are for the Friday. And there's actually parking costs on Saturday, but none on the Friday, because it's a bank holiday. 4 people going to see Paul Young on the 7th of April will cost £128. No future parking charge at this show as it's on a Sunday evening. Finally, your observation about how we will police this will be addressed as follows. We'll continue to work with our excellent enforcement staff. In the longer term, they will be reinforced with our investment in new technologies. This will free up some of the enforcement team's time to concentrate, for example, on-street parking infringement. So in summary, we increase charges by pence per hour, and we both improve our car park estate and the experience of our shoppers, and we raise vital revenues this council needs to continue to operate its services.
Thank you, Councillor Hobbs. Mr. Reid, you are entitled to a supplementary question.
Thank you, Chairman. Did you say that there were enough parking spaces in East Grinstead which was turning off shoppers? Because that seems somewhat illogical, that you think by putting the price up you'll encourage more shoppers. That seems somewhat illogical. Also, the parking regime. Currently we are inundated within the King's Centre with people parking and then walking down to the town. I know they should be putting their names into or their registration numbers into the key pad there, but we have not seen any civil enforcement officers for a long time. So that's why I ask about how is it going to be policed. West Sussex County Council, on-street parking in East Grinstead, which is unique to the 3 towns in East Grinstead, finishes at 5 o'clock. This doesn't occur either in Burgess Hill or Haywards Heath. The on-street parking also, the yellow lines, finishes at 6 o'clock. So can I suggest to you that if you do go ahead to 8 o'clock in the evening, then the streets are going to be clogged up with yet more complaints about illegal parking or parking outside my house. And just finally, are you aware that 5,215 signatures have been collected from within the East Grinstead Business Association today?
Councillor Hobbs, do you want to reply or give a reply in writing?
Thank you for your further observations. I think the key thing I can reply on is effectively that I am aware that there are a number of petitions that have been run across the 3 towns, and we're aware, obviously, of the feeling in regards to the charges that are both being applied and are proposed to be applied. I am aware that the monitoring officer has received at least one of those petitions, and it's currently going through the process of being verified, and I'm sure the monitoring officer will reply as soon as it is complete in terms of his verification.
Thank you, Councillor Hobbs. Right, thank you, Mr. Reid. You could leave the chamber, please. You can go up into the gallery if you wish.
Can I just...
Yes, Councillor Belson.
Thank you. Can I just clarify, just a point of order? I know it's a bit late now, but my understanding from the Constitution is that responses to public questions should only be up to 2 minutes long, and that one's far exceeded 2 minutes. I was just wondering if that could be clarified and confirmed for future questions, please. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Thing, sorry.
We'll have a look and we'll come back.
Yeah, Mr. Thuger, the monitoring officer will, make a note of that and we'll get back to you. Okay, we move on to item 3 on the agenda. Do we agree the minutes of the meeting on the 28th of February 2024?
Agreed.
Agreed. Right, thank you very much. 4, to receive declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda. We have none. To consider any items that the chairman agrees to take as urgent business. We have none. So there we move to chairman's announcements. First of all, I should like to remind members of the Code of Conduct, which requires members to treat other members, officers and members of the public with respect, both with speech, in writing and on social media. I know that councillors will always represent their residents and communities wholeheartedly. In doing so, I'm sure members in the chamber will join me in seeking to ensure that we always do so respectfully and with regard to the Constitution, holding ourselves to the highest standards of debate. Thank you. Since the last council meeting, I attended the Haywards Heath Mayor's fundraising event with an 80s theme, which was a very enjoyable evening. I also attended the Jim Green Awards ceremony, attended by the Duchess of Edinburgh. These awards recognise the achievements of students with learning difficulties carrying out various craft projects. Winners were from Woodland Mead School in Burgess Hill, Plumpton College and Grimsby College locally. There are 1 or 2 other colleges further away. Also, I, with the High Sheriff of West Sussex, presented the awards and certificates at the Mid-Sussex Applaud ceremony at the Ardingly Showground last Sunday. It was a pleasure to award so many organisations and volunteers across Mid-Sussex for the valuable contributions they have made to their local communities. I must also thank our staff for the excellent way they organised the event, which went very well and was much appreciated by the parties involved. Thank you. I now move over to the next item on the agenda, changes to executive arrangements made by the leader, proposed by Councillor Eccleston.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to move this recommendation. It's a simple change which brings the leasehold arrangements in line with values on asset disposals. Thank you.
Seconded by Councillor Cook.
I'm pleased to second the recommendations to note these changes. Thank you.
Right, any members of the council to debate or make comments? No, I have none. Thank you very much. So therefore, we need to vote on this item. So if you can press your keypads. call on Mr Toogood to announce the result.
Thank you, Chairman. So I can confirm that motion has been carried unanimously with 44 votes in favour, none against and no abstentions. Thank you.
I move on to item 80 on the agenda, Mid-Sussex District Council Pay Policy Statement 2024 to 2025, proposed by Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased to propose that Council agree the pay policy at Appendix A to comply with the requirements of the Localism Act. Members should note that the statement for Mid Sussex informs our current practice. It does not introduce anything new. Thank you.
I invite comments or from the floor. Oh, sorry, seconder is Councillor Hicks.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I'm pleased to second the motion and support the updated pay policy, noting particularly the commitment to the living wage. We're committing to paying apprentices at or above the living wage, and therefore I commend the policy to the Council.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks. Sorry, I will now invite the Council to make any comments or say anything. I have none, so therefore we'll move to the debate. Sorry, the vote. Okay. I call on Mr Kevin Toogood to announce the result.
Thank you, Chairman. So I can confirm that that motion has been carried with 43 votes in favour, 1 against and no abstentions. Thank you.
Right, we now move on to item 9, draft programme of meetings 2024 to 2025, proposed by, I call on Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to propose agenda item 9, which is the programme of meetings for the next civic year.
And I call on Councillor Lucroft to second the motion.
Yeah, I'm pleased to second the motion as formally.
Right, I'll open the floor to debate or comment. I see none. Right, if you can now vote then, please, on the touchpads.
Councillor Eaves.
I call on Mr Kevin Toogood to announce the result.
Thank you, Chairman. So I can confirm that motion has been carried unanimously, 44 votes in favour, no abstentions and none against. Thank you.
Now move to item 10, appointment of independent persons to the Standards Committee, proposed by Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased to propose the 3 independent persons named in item 10 on the agenda to the Standards Committee for a 4-year term from the 1st of May 2024 to the 30th of April 2028. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cornish. Now I call on Councillor Wood to second that.
And I would like to second that motion.
Thank you. Are there any debate or comments from the floor? I have none, so now we proceed to the vote. Mr Kevin Toogood to announce the result.
Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that motion has been carried unanimously with 44 votes in favour, none against and no abstentions. Thank you.
Right, we move to item 11 to receive the leader's report. Could I ask the council to have patience with Councillor Eggleston, because he's recently had an operation on his abdomen and he's got stitches and therefore doesn't want to be standing up for too long.
That's very kind of you, Chairman. Thank you. Only hurts when I laugh. On the district plan, consultation on the Regulation 19 district plan closed on the 23rd of February. The consultation generated responses from approximately 1,300 respondents on the strategic and non-strategic policies. These will be collated by officers and submitted to the Planning Inspectorate, along with the Regulation 19 draft and the evidence base. We anticipate that a public planning inspection on the plan will commence in the late summer 2024. The objective is to have an adopted plan in place before the end of 2024, though of course members will be aware that this is dependent upon the Planning Inspectorate's timing and initial response to the draft plan. The National Planning Policy Framework, I referred to the changes in the NPPF in my last report, and I'm pleased to report a change that has had a positive effect on our plan-making process. The new NPPF has a transitional arrangement relating to plan making and land supply. Any planning applications submitted since the 19th of December 2023 will now be determined against a 4-year land supply rather than the previous 5-year land supply for the next 2 years. Members will recall that when the council was engaged in the Albourne appeal, the inspector confirmed that we had a 5-year housing land supply. We are, of course, only able to take advantage of this change because we got the draft district plan to Regulation 19 stage when we did. Our neighbours, Lewes District Council, it has produced its draft Regulation 18 district plan, or their version of it, and in consultation with officers I provided a response to their plan. Members may not be aware that included in LDC's spatial options are 4 sites which would constitute extensions to Burgess Hill and Haywards Heath, comprising of 504 dwellings in total. We expressed our disappointment at the lack of discussion about these options prior to the publication of the consultation document. We have also made it clear to LDC that our own housing needs would have a significant impact on infrastructure, and we must meet that need first. LDC will need to ensure that they assess and plan for the additional infrastructure in their own plans. The West Sussex Leaders Group, this is my first opportunity to update Council on the last meeting of the West Sussex Leaders Group, which was held in January. At that meeting, the leaders received a presentation from Southern Water, similar in content to the presentation that went to Scrutiny Committee, so I shan't dwell on it. We have, however, secured a commitment from Southern Water to meet with the Leaders Group on a quarterly basis, and we will ensure that the output from these meetings is shared with members. I appreciate that members may want direct engagement, but it must be borne in mind that Southern Water covers Kent, East Sussex, West Sussex and Hampshire, making engagement at council level practically impossible. Members may have seen the Environment Agency report today, which stated that in 2023, raw sewerage spills across the UK doubled. In the Southern Water area, there were 29,494 spills during the year, with an average duration of 11 hours per spill. This was up from 16,688 in the previous year, so it represents a 76% increase. Whilst I'm sure we all welcome the promised £10 billion investment to reduce spills across the country by 2/3 through to 2030, We will want to see as much of these improvements front-end loaded so that residents across the Southern Water area see material improvement rather than this unacceptable backward step. This is a matter I will certainly raise with Southern Water at our next quarterly meeting. At the same leaders' meeting, we considered the operation of the business rates pool and agreed a one-off drawdown of £1.2 million to be shared equally with all authorities, making our share £150,000. Officers will come forward with a plan for the use of these monies in line with the terms of reference of the business rate pool in due course. I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions for Councillor Marsh?
Thank you, Chairman. I thank the leader for sharing his letter of the objection to the neighbours across the road, shall we say. Can I ask you to keep a close eye on everything that they're doing, because I sat in your chair and tried to get some assurance out of Lewis District Council to help when they did Green Hill Way, and they promised right up to the point first spade went into the ground and the Section 106 money never forthcoming to us, even though they have to drive through mid-Sussex to get to those houses. We do know that they're going to try it again, so can I ask you to be very aware that they will play games with you? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. I can assure you and all members that the planning team are very alive to the issues that confront us across the border, and there is a wide range of engagement that will take place to ensure that our views are known. Of course, as we all know, they are their planning authority and we are our planning authority, and our influence on their direction of travel is very much through their plan making process and the representations we make, and I can assure you we will make them.
Right. Councillor Zeidler.
Yes, thank you. If I can ask, thank you very much for the clarification about the number of responses to the Reg 19. Can I ask, because residents are very interested, if those are going to be made public through the website at some point, and if so, when?
Thank you, Councillor. I believe that if you go on to the website and the Reg 19 consultation page, that all of the responses are up on the site already.
Do you have any more questions? Right, thank you, Councillor Eggleston. Now move over to the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Communications and Communities, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Chairman. You may have noticed that Mid Sussex now has a regular double-page spread every month in various community magazines that exist across the district. By switching to this approach, instead of having the old paper version of Mid Sussex Matters, we are able to keep residents up to date more frequently than we were in the past, as that old paper magazine only came out 3 times a year. Moving to online, this week saw the first Mid Sussex Matters electronic newsletter going out. As members will have seen, it has a range of news, events and information. Anyone can sign up to receive it by Googling Mid Sussex Matters and completing the online form, or by using the sign-up link on the front page of our website. I hope you will agree that this approach gives us more opportunities to engage with residents throughout the year in a way that reflects changing habits for consuming news. Moving on to the Mid Sussex Partnership, I chaired February's meeting of the Mid Sussex Partnership Board. The Mid Sussex Partnership Board is a group of organisations from across Mid Sussex who work together to improve community safety, health and well-being and community resilience. One notable item at February's meeting was, as we anticipate the 40th anniversary of Volunteers Week, the partnership received a presentation from Mid Sussex Voluntary Action, MUSVA are asking employers to pledge 1 day a year for staff to carry out volunteer work. As part of our workplace volunteering initiative, officers from across all council departments will be encouraged to volunteer to support our play days. On the play days, in February, the half-term play days had a 152% attendance increase compared to the same period in 2023. And my thanks go to officers who worked so hard to make that such a success. Looking ahead, there will be Easter play days on Thursday the 4th of April at Mount Noddy, East Grinstead, Tuesday the 9th of April in St John's Park, Burgess Hill, and Thursday the 11th of April in Victoria Park, Haywards Heath. And there will be 3 new skate fests being planned for late spring and summer, which appeal to a slightly older teenage audience. And they will be on Wednesday the 29th of May at St John's Park, Burgess Hill, Thursday the 30th of May at Victoria Park, Haywards Heath, and on Thursday the 25th of July at St George's Field, East Grinstead. Finally, on community grants, we made some awards in February. There were 13 community grants that were successful, totalling £35,000 going out to good causes. And these initiatives include support for projects like the establishment of a repair cafe for the Dudley House Trust and the procurement of musical instruments for the Burgess Hill Marching Youth. And I would like to remind you that applications are now open for the next round of bids until the 7th of May. Very happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Right. Any questions for Councillor Bennett? Councillor Marsh?
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry I'm dominating, but I have 3 questions for you. I'll start with the easy one, and they will steadily get worse as we get along. I would like to ask you, on behalf of the older generation of Mid-Sussex, what is our council doing to support the celebrations of the 80th year of D-Day landings? I have an acute sort of interest in this because my father came ashore. He survived, hence I'm talking to you. Second one, Mid-Sussex Matters. I'm aware of what you've just said. That's assuming that people get the community papers that you just said. There are a lot of people, believe it or not, who don't read the papers that you may support. Well, they support you, should I say. How will they know about what's happening in Mid-Sussex Matters across the district? Because they won't. Because some of them haven't got computers. Some of them can't drive and get into Haywards Heath or Burgess Hill or East Grinstead. They rely on that Mid-Sussex Matters, the paper version, to see what's happening. Because it comes with, believe it or not, phone calls, phone numbers, and they can make these phone calls. So are you now saying you're disenfranchising all the older people of Mid-Sussex if they don't use your electronic version or the newspapers that we currently subscribe this 2-letter spread or 2-page spread? Right, now the third question, which you conveniently just said, but I was going to ask it anyway because you mentioned it in a press release. Capital grants. In it, can I remind you, you did say that in all the time we've had capital grants, since May last year to present day, you've had the most ever in capital grants. Now, I was a cabinet member for 10 years and my colleague next to me was for 4 years. So between us, we've got 14 years. I had a lot of cabinet grants that we dealt with. So you're saying just in 11 months, you've had more capital grants than everybody else has over the last 18 months, 14 years, you say? Have you checked your facts, or I'll leave it at that? Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. In terms of whether the older generation and what are we doing to celebrate D-Day, I mean, I too am an army brat and grew up in army accommodation as my father was serving until I was 5. So this is also something that matters to me. I will get you a written response on what plans the District Council has on that. Your second question about Mid-Sussex Matters coverage, I think you might be a little confused by what I said. We're talking about free newspapers that are delivered through people's letterboxes, not by newspapers that people have to go and drive to collect.
So we do not get free newspapers. In a lot of the villages, I'm sorry,
Okay.
that's a fact. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And on item 3, community grants, yes, thank you, Councillor Marsh, I do check my facts.
Right, could I just remind councillors, if you wish to speak, if you could press your touch, or what do you call it, pad, so I can see on my display who is wishing to speak.
My apology, I just wanted to do it factually.
And interrupting a speaker is not acceptable. Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Chairman. Could I just ask the Cabinet member, does she know how many digital subscribers we currently have for the Mid-Sussex Matters digital copy, please?
At this point in time, no, but I'm happy to get you a written answer.
Right, thank you. Councillor de Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did I hear you right that you're not actually going to distribute newspapers anymore for the Mid-Sussex Matters? It's just got to be digital, because one of the things that we're very concerned about at county is that not everybody's on the internet. So what happens to all the dear people that used to enjoy getting their Mid-Sussex Matters that no longer will get it? If that's what you're saying, thank you.
To be clear, Councillor de Bell, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we've got a mixed media approach of both online and offline communications.
Okay.
Right, thank you. So no more questions, so we move on to the Cabinet Member for Finance, Revenues and Benefits, Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm going to start with our financial position, for which Cabinet have received an update to the end of the third quarter to December 2023. The results see a relatively small increase in revenue overspend for the 3 months to December, offset by a continued strong Treasury management performance, for which the team should once again be commended. Of course, this leaves no room for complacency. Continued and sustained effort will be needed over the medium term to continue to manage costs. Moving on to council tax, I know that many of you will have seen the general reporting on council tax in the national press, including the collection by taxpayers of refunds on closed accounts. I would like to reassure members that we refund council tax credits promptly, whether it's due to residents' account closures on moving out of the district, death, or historic liability changes. Any overpayments on closed accounts with live and recent direct debits will be refunded immediately, while for any others, taxpayers will be contacted for refund arrangements. We will always continue to revisit hard-to-trace residents or complex cases and remain responsive to inquiries. Members in this chamber will know that as a collection authority, a significant percentage of the monies held are in fact collected on behalf of others, such as the County Council and parishes. Our efforts to return overpayments align with national trends and practice. While I'm talking about council tax, I would like to take the opportunity to thank the staff who worked across 2 weekends to ensure council tax letters were sent in a timely and accurate manner. Well done and thank you. Finally, I would like to update on audit. I was pleased to attend a recent audit committee as an observer, where the challenges in the national audit sector were discussed. Our external auditors updated the committee on the government consultation to address the capacity issues in the sector. For Mid-Sussex, this will mean that there will be no financial audit for the 2023 accounts. This is a situation beyond our control, and I am pleased that only 1 year of our accounts will be affected, which is not the case for many local authorities. Whilst 2022-23 may not receive a full financial audit, I was pleased that in undertaking their value for money audit, we received a positive report. Thank you.
Call on the councillor if they wish to ask any questions of Councillor Cook. I see none on my screen. So we move then for the Cabinet Member for Leisure and Customer Services, Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you. I'd like to start my update talking about jigsaws, and in this context, the jigsaw of sports provision across the district. 2 weeks ago, the District Planning Committee approved the plans for the Centre for Outdoor Sport in Burgess Hill, and we must take a moment to thank the officers for their work with Homes England to secure the site, develop the plans, get us to the point this week where work has commenced. Despite the challenges, not least the recession, double-digit inflation and the rising cost of materials, construction work has started on the £7 million facility, and we should celebrate that. As I have said before, this project is not the solution for all sports, and not the solution either for just today. This council has supported sports facilities over many, many years, and this development is funded by Brookley, which will bring more businesses, residents and users to our community. This facility will support the growth of our sports clubs. Another piece of the jigsaw is hockey provision. Earlier in the year, the leader and I met with Burgess Hill Hockey Club to talk about provision in the south of the district. Hockey can't be played at the Centre for Outdoor Sports. It will require us to downgrade the pitch quality. But in the jigsaw, there is a solution. The current pitch at the Triangle is shared by football users and hockey users, and we expect football to migrate across the road to the centre facilities. The District Council has over £1.5 million in capital grants allocated to the provision of pitches at St Francis in Haywards Heath. But that's a project that's not in our control, but we hope that it will move forward soon to provide the facilities that the hockey players need. In the past couple of weeks, the leader, Councillor Eggleston, and I have met with representatives of Burgess Hill Cricket Club, our tenants at St John's Park, and Vince Alfieri and the directors at Burgess Hill Town Football Club. Both these clubs are great community assets, but quite simply their potential and long-term aspirations are capped by a lack of facilities. The cricket club needs to improve the pavilion and provide women's and girls changing. The football club needs to improve their ground, a 3G pitch at home, plus more 3G facilities in the area, because the 500 plus participants each week in youth boys and girls football and women's football and adult football don't simply have enough places to play. But what else could be done? Disability football, walking football, all serving a need. We will continue to encourage and support these groups where we can. In the centre of the district, I was pleased also to read that Haywards Heath Rugby Football Club has successfully received a £250,000 levelling up grant to complete the fundraise for their project in Cookfield. This district council has previously agreed to support that project with the £311,000 S106 funded capital grant too. Finally, in the sports jigsaw, we head to the north where, at the beginning of the month, Bob Shelley of the East Grinstead Sports Association and 3 of the town's football clubs met with our new green spaces contractor Glendale and our officers. Bob reports a very constructive first meeting, and there are many exciting developments across the north of the district that he is working on. I wanted to take this opportunity to update you on the action taken since we secured and committed additional funding to our temporary accommodation portfolio. From our base of 27 active properties, we're specifying works to be completed on another 5 that we currently own. By May, we will have exchanged on a further 9 properties, and we have a further 2 properties under offer. This, in the end, will bring our portfolio to 43 properties for a service that, sadly, continues to see increasing demand. I want to make you aware that the green bin service backlog is now cleared, and there are over 24,000 subscriptions. With the addition of a further vehicle and spring now here, bookings are now open for houses to join our service and for additional bins to be added to existing customers. And finally, we're issuing bin hangers to tell those receiving the Council's food waste service trial that it's continuing, thanking them also for their amazing support. Through the collection of over 360 tonnes of food, we've cut weekly food waste in residual bins by an impressive 2 kilos per week. Thank you.
Right, well, I ask members then to, any questions for Councillor Hobbs on his report?
Councillor Sandy Ellis.
Councillor Ellis.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Hobbs. Could I just ask you, I'm not sure if you were aware, and it may have been raised with you, about the condition of the wooden path in Ashenground Woods. Some members of the community have raised the condition of it and it's the safety of it. Also, the Friends of Ashenground Bolnor Woods. They're amazing volunteers who do a lot of work, as I know you can appreciate. And I just want to say, through their work and through the work of this town council and the maintenance of this town, we're one of 5 towns now that are entered into Britain's in Bloom. So I can't thank anyone enough. But I would just like to know, is that going to be part of a planned working programme in the future? Because there's obviously concern with the marathon that goes through that part. And would that be part of the risk assessments in regards to the condition of that? But I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Mid Sussex for everything they do to green this town that's helped us to be one of 5 in Britain's in Bloom. It's quite an achievement, so I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, councillors, for your question. I'm afraid I don't know the answer specifically. I've not been made aware of issues with the path at Ashenground Woods, but I'll get you a written response.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whitaker.
Can I thank Councillor Hobbs for his passionate backing of sports across the district, and particularly for East Grinstead and their sports council, something I've long spoken about in this chamber, so really gratifying to see that. Centre for Outdoor Sport, I was on the planning committee, so it's a fantastic facility, and I'm sure there'll be other facilities across the district coming through. And on Glendale, they seemed very proactive. They were invited to East Grinstead Town Council Public Services Committee a few weeks ago, came, did a great presentation, very good Q&A, so early signs are very good, so thank you.
Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to thank Councillor Hobbs for his prompt reply to my question I sent to him while I was in Austria. But can I just do a quick follow-up? I have received an email from an officer from who you have in your portfolio. Can I just ask you to make sure you follow it up, that they actually do the cleaning on the road, please? Thank you.
No problem. I'll make sure that that's followed up for you.
Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to ask the Cabinet Member about sports provision in Burgess Hill. I've spoken recently to the rugby club, the cricket club, the football club, and St Andrews Cricket Club. They've all got aspirations to improve their grounds, and pavilions. And obviously we're seeing lots of money going into the Centre for Community Sport. And I say some are marginally a bit disappointed, but understand you need pitches for general use as well. So I think it's probably about, between all the clubs, they need maybe about £1.5 million of investment from the council to enable to unlock other funding. So say in the next 5 years, what kind of Section 106 money for formal sport do you believe might come available to be spent inside Burgess Hill, please, so that maybe these clubs can start looking forward, to growing and in making Burgess Hill, putting Burgess Hill on the map as a as a good sporting powerhouse, should we say? Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Chapman, for your question. I don't have those numbers obviously to hand, so I will look to the officers and get you a written response.
Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm pleased to hear about the meetings with the East Grinstead sports clubs, but can I point out there are 2 other villages in the north of the area with aspirations to improve their facilities, and please could they be included in future in discussions so that they can forward their plans as well, please.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Phillips, for your observation, and I'll make sure that we stay in contact and and stay close to those clubs too.
Councillor Belsey.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you very much, Councillor Hobbs, for your update. You specifically mentioned the meeting with Burgess Hill Cricket Club and Burgess Hill Town Football Club. I think specifically with Cricket Club, you said that they have a need for pavilion extension or increase, etc., due to the ladies and girls facilities, changing rooms, etc., needed. Could you just confirm then what if Mid Sussex Council is now committed to that extension, and what the position is in terms of investment in that, as you've now met with them? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question, Councillor Belsey. At the moment, the Council is committed to doing anything in regards to the pavilion. The first stage is for the tenants who are Burgess Hill Cricket Club to achieve their planning permission, and that will be coming to. They hope to be receiving that from this council in the next few weeks. Once they have their planning permission, their plan is then to revisit all the costs related to their planning development that they wish to undertake. And then at that point, we will reconvene with them and understand what funds may be available, either through Section 106 to support that project, or from other parties to help them to get to their aspiration for a long-term future for them at the pavilion and at that side.
Thank you. Finally, Councillor Bates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe just a bit of an update on the Ashton Ground Bolnor Wood situation. I am a member, of the Friends Group. The item of the ramp has been raised and discussed. As you know, I'm a runner. I've been up and down those. They are a slight ramp stepped arrangement, and it is more of a nuisance for people like me taking a bike up it, or people with a pram and pushchairs. I don't think there's any imminent problem with the ramp, but we are having a site visit in April, and that will come up in the discussion. What I feel from the discussion with the group was that they're looking for a solid concrete ramp, which is continuous, so that access can be made by people with pushchairs and whatever on that. So we'll keep you informed on that.
Thank you, Councillor Bates.
Right, no more questions then. We'll move to the Cabinet Member for Sustainable Economy and Housing, Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, councillors. It's very pleasing that the Council has been awarded the bronze standard in carbon literacy, and I'm going to start by congratulating all the officers and staff involved in that achievement. And clearly, we as councillors can't let the officers down. We need to get the silver award, so I'm thanking everybody who's attended one of the 2 carbon literacy courses that we've already run in February and March. And can I urge you to submit your pledges, so you will indeed earn your personal certificate, something to put on the wall, and it will count towards our overall proficiency. Cabinet adopted the Social Value Charter at its meeting on the 25th, on Monday, addressing one of the actions in our sustainable economy strategy to ensure that the services that we procure provide social, economic and environmental benefits. The requirements in the Charter are staged so that SMEs who are applying for contracts who have limited resources are not prejudiced compared to the larger companies. And that Charter will promote sustainable practices, and that will help to address the 97% of our CO2 emissions. That's over 9,000 tonnes of CO2 that fall into Scope 3 emissions. The Leader and I supported a submission by the Town and Country Planning Association asking the government to review new rules on the ability of councils to address the carbon emissions of buildings in their plans. These rules would restrict the ability of local authorities, including this one, to set energy performance metrics beyond building regulations. And that would prevent us using the innovative policies that we have in the district plan to achieve net zero buildings in the future. We also face the technical and financial challenges of decarbonising our own estate. starting with Oaklands. The County Council has recently commenced a £7.9 million programme to reduce the footprint of only 14 of its buildings, and that's including the Haywards Heath Library and the East Grinstead and Haywards Heath fire stations. And we'll be looking at any lessons that come out of that from the approach to the work. And finally, on sustainability, and looking all the way back to January, it's a long time, I attended the West Sussex Climate Change Board. That had a number of presentations, one on a new map-based tool developed by the University of Brighton that identifies climate change vulnerabilities, and it looks at an interesting mix of social deprivation, vegetation cover and flood zone risk. The other presentations covered local area energy planning, and there is a new working group on nature recovery strategy. I'm happy to pass on contact details for any of these if councillors contact me. I was pleased to see so many councillors at the housing training session led by Simon Hughes, Lucy Corrie, and supported by Simon Jones, Margaret Grates and James Cox. Homelessness is an emotive subject, and it's important to understand how it can be assessed within a statutory framework. We're continuing to support a historically large number of families and individuals needing advice on housing. And alongside the work that you've heard to increase our temporary housing stock that we own, we're also engaging with private landlords to increase our supply of rented temporary accommodation or temporary accommodation available for rent. Following that, I'd just like to thank councillors who responded to my invitation to report empty properties at the December Council. The response was rather less than I expected from my knowledge, certainly of empty properties in my own ward. We cannot afford to have empty social housing at this time. It's a time of high demand, and it's particularly annoying to hear of an example of a property left empty for so long that it's become economically unviable to bring it back into use. The Deputy Leader and officers and I held a virtual meeting with Clarion in late January. We had a wide-ranging discussion covering Clarion's approach to additional housing, maintenance and antisocial behaviour. We discussed void periods, and Clarion admitted that these are increasing due in part, in their opinion, to properties being vacated in worse condition than previously. However, they do endeavour to respond when the council identifies a need for a specific property or property type and to bring those properties back into use. I often don't say enough about the enforcement team who seem to have a very heavy workload looking at it. We seem to receive one new case at almost a rate of one per day. And I was pleased to see that we've managed to close off a large number of the minor or older cases, something over 100 which have been sat there. The winter version of the business bulletin is available on the council website, and there's a useful option to subscribe, so you need never miss future issues. The successful Grow Digital programme held its final event in mid-Sussex, but there's still a couple of opportunities elsewhere in the county if you come across companies which are regretting having missed it here. And the latest issue of the Opportunity Mid-Sussex newsletter, which promotes the district as a great place for business investment, has just been posted out to subscribers. And the team themselves will be attending an event in Leeds later this spring, looking for investment here, and obviously promoting the fantastic opportunities we've got with the new science park that's going to be built down in Burgess Hill, and of course the highly skilled workforce, which is one of the best in the country. And finally, I attended a meeting of the Gatwick Noise Management Board last month. The main business was a discussion of the future of the board, but there was also a number of proposals for revised flight paths, which I think councillors might want to pay attention to. The changes are separate to the DCO for the Northern Runway project, and while they primarily affect communities west and north of Gatwick, they're also going to, for instance, increase the number of flights over East Grinstead and Crawley Down. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Gibbs. Do we have any questions for Councillor Gibbs? Councillor Belsey.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Gibson, for that update. You mentioned about sort of unused accommodation. It'd be really helpful just if we could get an update of where we are on Swan Mead. please, in East Grinstead. I know over a year ago it was close to a planning application, and I think it would be really helpful to understand where the council is currently. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belsey. I believe that was the 5 mentioned by my colleague, Councillor Hobbs, but I will check that and get back to you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Bates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In respect of the empty homes, apologies for not actually getting back to you, Councillor Gibson. It irks me really that I know somebody that's got, one person lives in 3 homes near where I live, and they are in their 80s now, and I see they're going to go on till their 90s perhaps, but when we're going to get some of those properties back, I don't know. It really does irk me. I've spoken to them about trying to let them to Ukrainian families or something like that, but they don't want anybody in the house.
Question, please, Councillor Bates.
That was just a comment, really. I mean, the question is, can this be pursued by council staff about the use of this property or properties, because they must be now being surcharged 200% on their council tax.
I think the ability of the council to chase those, other than working through the housing associations which own the freehold, is very limited. It was certainly one of the things which I've discussed at length with Clarion, based on my knowledge of certainly empty properties, where the tenant is, for instance, in hospital long term. And they have told me that there are immense problems with the costs of going to court in order to regain access to the properties. So rest assured, it is something that we are looking at where these instances come through. I think there is a wider issue of the whole issue to do with the number of empty properties which are around. And I'm one of those people that believe that we don't have a housing crisis as such. We have a how we employ our housing estate crisis, but that's an entirely different discussion.
Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. In my ward, there was 11 flats that have been empty for about 20 years, Linden House, and they've just got planning permission now to be 17 flats, but there's no social houses or affordable houses going in it. They have given funds. I just wanted to, the question is, will those funds go towards our purchasing more houses for our houses that we're adding to for homeless people, or for the people that we move when they lose their house or the swing space? Are you aware of that?
Thank you, Councillor. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you, Councillor Clark. I think the only instance that I've come across before was the Fellbridge, the old, sort of glass houses down there, where I know that a fair amount of money was put towards affordable accommodation. I'll talk to officers about that to understand rather better which pocket the money goes into and then how it comes back out. Thank you. Good point.
Thank you. I see no more questions, so therefore perhaps I'll move on to item 13.
Sorry, Chairman, can I just rise on a point of order?
Right.
And the procedure rule is 13.12, and it's a personal explanation. So I just wanted to clarify a remark I gave to Councillor Zeidler earlier, so that we've got a correct record. When I last looked at the Regulation 19 responses were on the website because I read some of them. I've just checked now and they're no longer there. So I imagine that they're lifted up to be collated by officers and then forwarded to the planning inspectorate, but we will check that for you and give you a response as to what the process is now and whether members are able to review the responses. I apologise for that.
Thank you, Councillor Eggleston. And just to Councillor Belsey, Mr Toogood will get back to you on your question earlier on about the length of time. So now we move to item 13, questions from members pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 10.2. I have none. So therefore I propose to close the meeting and I ask members to remain in place until the live stream has concluded.